Welcome to PA Timber Gifts. Today is February 6th, and hopefully you enjoyed the last video about my fly rod selection. My 2-weight, 3-weight, 5-weight, and 8-weight. Now we're going to talk about leader material. What kind of leader should I have for my fly rods? And we'll go over all them and the length. Everybody sets their fly rod up different, and a lot of guys I talk to on the stream, they always have different ways of setting stuff up. I try to pick out whichever is the easiest and the simplest. I'm not real good at tying knots, so I try to keep my knots very simple. We're going to talk about some leader material today. I have some Scientific Angler. I have some Rio. And basically my leader material is generally all fluorocarbon. I used to use the older nylon material, but after a few years they will break down and become brittle. Fluorocarbon seems to last a very long time, and it's very hard to see underwater. It's actually invisible to the fish for the most part because it absorbs water. And if you use the mono type leader material, it has a habit of floating higher in the water, where fluorocarbon will actually sink faster. So you get a better drift down through the hole, and you get a little bit more action with your fly as it floats through the water column and rolls gently through the water. It looks more natural to the fish. Fluorocarbon does not have a lot of stretch, so it's actually very sensitive. You can feel it all the way down to the rod handle or through the line. So anything that touches that fly, you can feel the vibration or the sensation that something has a hold of your fly, or they hit it. Where if you have the mono style or the nylon leaders, sometimes they stretch a little bit, so you don't get as good as a hook setup as you do in the fluorocarbon. So this is the way I go. We'll talk about how I set my leaders up, and some different variations of this in different situations that you might encounter along the stream. So stay with us, and let's get a close-up of our fly line leader. Let's tie our leader to our fly line. The bottom of my fly line, I tied a loop on here. Somewhere along the way, I damaged the loop that was on the end, so I retied this. This fly line is a double taper. So basically what I did here is I made a tiny loop, make it a little bit easier here to see, a tiny loop, and I tied a knot on the end. And I put some head cement on there. You can see that there. That's been on there a long time. It's never slipped. Okay, so the bottom half of our leader is going to be 0x fluorocarbon. So it'll be 13.2 pounds. And the top half of my leader will be 6-pound Berkeley Vanish. So basically what it does is a heavier line rolls over the lighter line. That's how the double taper works on your fly line also. The heavier back end rolls over the lighter end. That helps your line roll out and land flat in the water. Okay, so this will be the base, and this will be the tip on my leader. You can make your fly line leaders in 3 pieces or 2. I tried the 3-piece, but I get the same result with a 2-piece. If I was doing a lot of dry fly fishing, I would probably make a 3-piece leader. It makes a better float going through the water. So basically what I'm doing here, I have a habit of tying these knots so quick. Here's my fluorocarbon. Basically what I do is I make a square knot. There's one loop, and then I do a loop inside of a loop. Put your tag in through the hole, and what you're going to end up with is a slip knot. You can see the tiny loop up here, and as you pull this down, it'll cinch down and stay there. I use that loop on salmon, and a salmon has never broken that knot. Sometimes when I fish for larger fish, I'll put 2 or 3 of them on there. So if it slips a little bit, the other knots will catch it. Fly fishing, you don't use heavy line like a lot of guys do when they're bass fishing. They're throwing 30 or 40 pound test, and they're winching them out of the cover. Where fly fishing is more finesse. So you're using lighter leader material, and it's more of a finesse fishing. Unless you're salmon fishing is chuck and duck, which means you have a lot of split shot on the end and you're throwing giant flies. When that split shot goes over your head, you got to duck or it'll hit you in the back of the head. Okay, there's my leader tied onto the loop. You can see that. Here's my tag end. We clip this off here. Fluorocarbon lasts a long time in the environment, so never leave this along the stream. I have a plastic bag on me, and the monitor that I peel off my reels, or the leaders I replace, I put them in the bag, and then when I come home they go in the garbage can. There's the base of the fly line. Now we're going to count off 3.5 feet. You can do this very simple. There's 1, 2, there's 3 foot, there's 3.5 foot. The more you tie the knots, the better you'll become at it. After a while, it'll only take you a few minutes to tie these. You can use barrel knots, you can use nail knots, whichever works for you. My loop system is very simple. You tie a couple loops and you'll be the master of the loop knot. Okay, there's the loop I'm going to tie. You can see how tiny that is. So basically I'm just going to go through here, wrap this around, pull this out. You don't want a big loop on here. You want it to be fairly tiny. Put some saliva on there so when you cinch down on it, it doesn't break your leader. That's a lubricant for your knot. I'm going to pull that tight. Here's my knot there. I will put a square knot behind it just to lock that in there so it doesn't slip. Actually, I'm going to do the loop inside of the loop again. Put a little bit more saliva on there. Now we'll lock that in there. All right. Hopefully the camera can see that. There's your loop. Clip this tag end off here. All right, there's half of our fly leader. That's 3.5 foot. We have a loop on the end. 0x, 3.2 pounds. Now I'm going to tie some 6-pound test on there. Some vanish. Someday I will empty this spool of leader material. I've had that for quite a while. You can tell by how bad the label looks. This part you have to be careful with because if you clip this end off, then you're going to have to retie the base of the leader. Let's find the end of our fluorocarbon here. Now, just to prove a point, this leader material is probably 6 or 7 years old. It's still as strong as when I bought it. Fluorocarbon is very strong. It lasts a long time. If you buy the cheaper leader material, you'll be replacing that every few years. I kept losing fish on that because I didn't fly fish that much sometimes, and I would go to tie on with that, and it would keep snapping off. It cost me some fish. Spend a little bit more money and stick with a fluorocarbon leader. So we're going to go through this loop here. You can see how tiny that is compared to that 13-pound test on the back. Let me see if I can get a better shot of this. Okay, there's our loop and the other loop. Now I'm just going to tie the 6-pound test to the 13-pound test with my own knot. There's one loop. There's another loop. Pull that through the tag end through the hole. Put some saliva on there. Cinch that down. You can see how quickly I tied that knot. And it's worked great for me over the years. I've never had anything really break that unless I mistied the knot. Operator error. Okay. Make sure that's on there tight. Sweatshirt seems to work great with that color. So there it is. You can see the loop on the end. And then the other piece here. Then a lot of times when you catch fish, the back half of it won't break off. The 6-pound test will break. And you only have to add about 3.5 foot to that leader. Okay, so I'm going to measure out 3.5 feet again. There's 1. There's 2. Wind some of this. There's 3. There's 3.5. Alright, now we need a fly. Let's see if we'll have a fly here. Here's my white Estaz fly. This is what I caught my brown trout on yesterday. I started out with the gold Estaz, and the water was kind of cloudy and high, so they couldn't see the fly that much, so I went to the white Estaz. Let's find the end of our leader here. There's the loop. Let's find the end. Okay, so this is a 6-pound test. So when you tie your fly on, you never want to go from the top down. You always want to go from the bottom up. It makes your fly float through the water better and keeps it from turning over. Go through there, leave a little piece so you have enough room to hold on to. Now we're going to tie my loop. There's 1 loop. There's 2 loops. You put the tag in through the hole and a little bit of saliva. Cinch that down. Let's see if pull or not tight. So that's on there. You can go to lighter line, but what I found out in the past, other than getting stuck on trees and breaking my flies off in the trees, if you're a little bit off with your timing and your back cast, and it cracks behind your head when your fly's coming back, when it comes back, your fly will be gone because it'll actually snap your leader material in half. Especially if you're using very light leader material, like when you use flies. Dry flies, you basically want to use 6X. Some guys will use 8X, but dry flies, I always go to a 6X leader material. Okay, so that's our leader and our fly tied on there. That's 7.5 foot long. Here's my leader material again. Now I have 2 spools of this 4X is because that's what I use most of the time. And we have the big nasty. And then we have the 0X. You want some kind of a way to keep your tippet material handy so you can get to it. So this is actually an Orvis tippet holder. So what you're going to do with this is you're going to put you can do this lightest to heaviest or heaviest to lightest. The heaviest on mine is always at the bottom. So I have 0X there, which is 13 pound. And I have 10 pound on top. I have my Vanish there. Then I have my 2 Scientific Angler 4X. The clips that came with this actually fell apart. The clips that came with this tippet holder was on the top. And I was walking along and I was losing my tippet material. It actually came apart. So I kind of modified this a little bit. This is the rubber washer that goes on the top. Put that on the top there. And I've had this on my vest for years. This is a little magnet I got from Orvis. My clippers are always stuck in there. Very powerful magnet. This is a key holder. This came from Walmart for a few dollars back when they cut the keys. You put your car keys or something on here, but it's great for holding your clippers. Put your clippers on there. Here's the magnet on the end. And then when this isn't in use, You put this on here and it hangs on your vest. Just like a magnetic net holder. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's not as strong. Okay, so the top of my Tippet spool, I will take this key ring here. Key rings are very inexpensive. They work awesome. I'm going to put this on top of that loop. Open that up. Put that on there. Spin that around. There you go. There's your Tippet holder. That can't fall off. And basically what I did with this, move this over here a little bit. I will take this loop here and attach this to a loop of my vest or my pack. And this is always very close to me. If I'm tying spinners or flies on there, they always have clippers. And that key ring will never break. Okay, that's it for leader material. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed that short video. I know it was kind of dry, but tying fly line leaders actually is very simple. If you want to buy them, it's going to cost you more money. You may break off quite a few of these leaders during the day. It depends on how heavy a cover you're fishing, and sometimes you can lose a dozen flies fishing in the snags and the bushes. So give it a try. Buy some leader material and tie your own fly line leaders. You may need some practice at time, but after a while it becomes very easy. And there's our there's our white Estes fly. This will catch you some trout when the water's cloudy. It seems to work very well. The trout can see that in the dark conditions. Here's my 3-weight, 7'6" ultralight fly rod. This is my favorite fly rod. Try an ultralight fly rod. It's very fun. It can be fun catching tiny fish, even big fish on a small rod. You can feel anything that touches your fly line. It's way more sensitive than the 9-foot 5-weight. But you definitely need a few different size fly rods. It depends on what kind of streams you like to fish, large ones or small ones. Thanks for all the new subscribers. Hopefully you enjoyed this short video. It was kind of dry, but very necessary if you want to learn how to fly fish. Buy yourself some leader material and tie your own leaders. It will save you some money in the long run. As always, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. Tight lines.